Alhamdulillah wa salatu wa salam ala nabiyyina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam. Amma ba'da, habati fillah. Assalamu alaikum rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. A question was asked. I heard this definition of minor shirk by the ulama, taking as a means something which Allah did not make as a means is minor shirk. Does this definition mean that when people commit bid'ah, the act is a form of minor shirk if their intentions are to get closer to Allah because they are using non-Islamic means as a means? For example, celebrating the Mawlid, thinking there's a reward with Allah, but they're using a non-Islamic means as a means to attain reward. Absolutely fascinating question, and we're going to try to do our best to answer it. Initially, I misunderstood the question and thought it was more about tawakkul, putting your trust in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and the means. But now I see, after further investigation, that this is really a question about tawassul. So we're going to talk a little bit about tawassul, the tawassul memnu', so that way we can be a little more concise, meaning the prohibited types of tawassul, of seeking a means. Ahabati fillah, by means, I mean a means to come closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, taqarrub ila Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because that's what it means when you are making tawassul. You are seeking to draw nearer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And in light of this, one of the things we find is that the scholars, and I've mentioned this prior, that sometimes there's a little bit of difference in, obviously in definitions, and sometimes from their ijtihad in what they understand as far as when it comes to definitions, for example, even whether an action is shirk or whether it's an act of bid'ah. So that's very important. So meaning that even in the question, and it would be nice to see actually where the source of where it was heard, that taking non-Islamic means is shirk or something similar to that. And I have heard this before, but that does not mean that this understanding or this definition is comprehensive and a total definition, and that all the scholars of Ahl Sunnah are in agreement with that definition, because there could be exceptions. Because in accordance with your in your question, which it's clear that according to what you're stating, that no, that is not shirk. Just go, the Mawlid or what have you. So it's very important, the diqqah, the precision in this. And what's going to give us some insight? First, let's take a look at what Imam bin Baz, rahmatullahi alayhi, rahmatin wasi, and he mentions that tawassul, and you can see this clearly from his answer in this question, that tawassul, that is prohibited, it can be bid'ah sometimes, and it can be a kufr at times. So he says, well, have a bid'ah. He was talking about something else, and we're going to get into some details. غير مشروع من وسائل ومن وسائل الشرك. So this is a bid'ah, and it is something which is not legislated, and it is a means to shirk. Okay, so something that is a means to shirk does not mean it is shirk. It's a wasila. So we do need to distinguish that. Otherwise, there would be no purpose. You just say everything is either, shirk or, or to the other, or it's tawheed. So he says, فَصَارَتْ فِي حَقِيقَةِ ثَلَاثَ عُنْوَانِ. So he's mentioning that tawassul has three types. He says the first type is that which is mashru'. And all of this is in relation to going to the grave. So we're going to need to look at this. Going to the grave. So he said, the first, what is legislated is for people, they can go obviously to the graves to visit and make dua for the people of the grave. Make dua for the people of the grave. And as a source of reminding themselves about death and so forth. The second type of visiting the graves is to visit, to read the Quran there, or to make salat there, or to sacrifice an animal there. He says, فَهَذِهِ بِدْعَةٌ وَمِنْ وَسَائِلِ الشِّرْكِ. He says those are religious innovations, and they are a means to shirk, meaning they are not shirk, but they're a means to it. So we have to distinguish these things, because if the definition was too comprehensive that everything is a non-Sharia based means is shirk, then everything that we consider bid'ah would be shirk. It's a little too broad in its classification. So he mentions that if the people, they go to visit the graves and they recite the Quran there, or to pray there, in that place, or to make or sacrifice an animal there, that's bid'ah, and it's a means to shirk. Now let's look at when it becomes shirk. So the third scenario is if someone, they go to the graves in order to sacrifice for the dead person, in their name, or in the name of Saint Fulan or so and so, or what have you, to seek to come closer, either to them or closer, closer to them. So they're actually, it becomes a type of ibadah to those individuals. Or they go to make dua to the dead. Not dua for the dead, but dua directly to the dead. Or they go to seek help or assistance from the dead. And this is Shirk al-Akbar. This is the major shirk, which takes you out of the fold of Islam. So let's take a look at what Imam bin Uthaymeen has to say, and it's directly relevant to the issue that you are describing. It's a little bit more right to the point about tawassul, even though that was also an issue of tawassul, but I was using that to show us that there's a difference between when we talk about the prohibited type of means of trying to draw near to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because that's what we're talking about, which is tawassul. The prohibited types can be divided into bid'ah and also divided into shirk. So it just depends. So here bin Uthaymeen, he gives us a little more precision with the issue at hand, but there is something that bin Uthaymeen says which actually surprised me, because other ulama that I've studied with, and from the lot of the text, it seems a little contrary to this one statement Imam bin Uthaymeen mentions. Now let's look at this. So he mentions, rahmatullahi alayhi rahmatin wasi'ah, he says that the prohibited type of tawassul, he said, أن يكون التوسل بوسيلة لم يأتي بها الشرع وهي نوعان. He says that it is a means of seeking to draw near, meaning drawing near to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that the Sharia has not prescribed. That the Sharia has not prescribed. So this fits in line, actually what bin Uthaymeen fits in line with your definition. So he says, well, he and Nu'an, it's of two types. He says the first type is that the wasila, the means, is something that the Sharia has falsified. Has declared that is falsified and that is haram. For example, the way of the polytheists, the mushrikeen, the pagans, how they seek to draw nearer to their gods. And the Sharia, the Quran and the Sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ has illustrated that is false. That right there is an example, obviously, of shirk. This is of shirk al-akbar. Okay? The second type, he said, أن يكون بوسيلة سكت عنها الشرع. That when there's a means, meaning a means to come closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that the Sharia has kept silent about. It's not mentioned in the Sharia. And he says that this is muharram, which is interesting. He used the term muharram. And then he says, وَهُوَ النَّوْعُ مِنَ الشِّرْك. This is where I was kind of surprised. And he says, and it is a type of shirk. So it doesn't mean what I'm so kind of surprised that he said it's a type of shirk, because then the example he gives an example, which is beautiful. That great Imam, rahmatullahi alayhi, rahmatullahi alayhi. He says, مثل أن يتوسل بجاه شخص ذي جاءه عند الله. Okay? So, and he mentioned specifically that when a person seeks to draw nearer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala by the status of someone. So, for example, and it's kind of strange for us in the English language, because maybe this is something more the Arabs and maybe certain other cultures do. But in English, I don't know, it seemed, it's a harder concept to wrap around. That someone's going to make dua, for example, and say, "Oh Allah, in the, I ask you by the status of your Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, or by the right of your Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, or by perhaps the Catholics, they do this and stuff, but, and maybe English speakers do it, but it's a strange concept. I've always found it strange. But it is to ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but using by the status of, or the right, that someone has esteemed status. For example, the Sufis would do that maybe with their living sheikh or their dead sheikh. They would say, "Oh Allah, by the status of Abdul Qadir al-Jilani, by the status of so-and-so." And Abdul Qadir al-Jilani, by the way, was from Ahl Sunnah. So he wasn't a Sufi in that sense, but they love him. So by supplicating to Allah, but by the status or the right of someone. Bin Uthaymeen mentioned shirk. He mentioned shirk, and we read it, which I was really surprised. But, that is his ijtihad. But anyhow, from my studies, from a lot of different ulama, it's well known that when you, by the jah, that you're making dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but you're not committing shirk. So, and Allah knows best. So anyway, this is some differences between the ulama, that this is a bid'ah. So this would be referred to as a bid'ah. Now we're going to go further so we can get some insight to what I'm saying, so that way you don't say, "Oh, Khalid Green just said this, made it up. He said some about some ulama. We don't know who his ulama are. We don't know what he's talking about." Well, let's get into that for a second. We want to look at three things, and this is from an excellent book and resource by Sheikh Saud Ali Saud. And anyway, he mentions that there are three types of tawassul, or the effects of tawassul, which is غير مشروع, meaning it's prohibited types of tawassul, or prohibited means of coming closer to Allah. He says first, وقوع في الشرك الأكبر. So the first surah, the first way is that a person falls into the major shirk. And this is the example that Imam bin Uthaymeen gave, for example, seeking to draw near by supplicating to the dead, supplicating to the dead saints or the wicked people, but supplicating to other than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is shirk al-akbar, takes you out of the fold of Islam. Second type, he says, al-wuqu' fi bid'ah munkara, falling into a wicked innovation. Okay? And he says, for example, asking someone, and this is the example we said, which bin Uthaymeen referred to as shirk, which was interesting, as I said. He gives an example, and he says, that which the Sharia has given in the meaning, as-su'al bija fulan. For example, asking again Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala by the status of so-and-so. So-and-so is a righteous person. Oh Allah, by his status, please answer my dua, or please grant me wealth, please grant me this or that. Right. The third surah Is tawassul bid'i, is also a religious innovation. So these are all prohibited types of tawassul, seeking draw nearer to Allah. And he says, tawassul bid'i dhariya ila shirk al-akbar. That tawassul bid'i, that the tawassul, seeking a means to draw nearer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that is that is not in accordance with the kitab and sunnah. It's a religious bid'ah, innovation. He says it's a dhariya ila shirk al-akbar. He says it's a means to shirk al-akbar. So probably from this means, or this wajh, I can see where Bin Uthaymeen and others say that maybe that is a that's a means to the major shirk. So then, therefore, it's the minor shirk, because those scholars that define shirk al-asghar as whatever is a means to shirk al-akbar, if that is your definition, then this that's going to fit in line with that would be a type of shirk, okay, a bid'ah, which is going to lead to the worship, a shirk al-akbar, the major shirk akbar. Then that would be a type of shirk. The Sheikh here is mentioning, he just says, "Tawassul bid'i dhariya ila shirk al-akbar, huwa ma'lum mushahid min ibad al-qubur." So he says, he gives an example, but he didn't refer, he just said it's a means to the major shirk, because it isn't the major shirk yet, but it's been witnessed from experience that many of the grave worshippers fall into this. And he gives the example. He says that when they say that you can supplicate by the essence or the selves of the prophets. You're supplicating to Allah, but it's by the self of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, or Nur, by Prophet Nur alayhi salatu wasalam. Oh Allah, please answer my, this kind of thing. That these are a means, okay, but they're not actually shirk. And he said, wasalihin. And he said, and also the tawassul bijahim, as we mentioned, tawassul by their status. That this, what you find often, because they say that this is permissible. So he's talking about the shubahat of the grave worshippers and others who fall into that path, that because they feel that this is permissible, these actions are permissible, they begin to expand and expound upon it. And this is what has happened through history. So he says that they begin to believe that it's okay, since you're already supplicating by the status of the Prophet, to then therefore supplicate to the Prophet, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and to seek help from them, and istighatha, to have hope in them that they will save you during your trial or your difficulty that you're having. So you begin to directly worship them, and that's why he's mentioning that these are acts which are a wasila, a means to shirk al-akbar. And then from there we understand that those scholars that hold this, meaning scholars of Ahl Sunnah, so you could say maybe that there's ikhtilaf, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows best in this, in ikhtilaf tanawwu', in this, that because they define shirk al-asghar as everything which is a means to shirk al-akbar, that's also included in what is considered shirk al-asghar, then because this is a means to grave worshipper, meaning it's not grave worshipping now, but it's a means to it, then it is considered shirk. And more precisely, shirk al-asghar. So hopefully that kind of gives us some insight into your question. And we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the Almighty, to accept our good and forgive our evil, protect us from kulli su' wa makruh. Wa sallallahu wa sallam ala nabiyyina Muhammad.